Hey everyone, Tony D with another hot take on Iran. This is our Iran part, I don't know, 5. So there was an article at antiwar.com, and I mentioned in one of my other videos that Soleimani, the general who was killed, a drone bomb, he may have actually been on his way to a meet in Iraq to offer the response from the Iranian government to a Saudi offer of peace, and that the Saudis were trying to get some sort of peace initiative going with Iran, which is a very interesting piece of information because it says a few things, if true. The first question is, did the United States and Trump know that, and did they want to squash that? Did they want to make sure the Iranians and the Saudis stay at each other's throats? Very interesting. That could be the case. That the United States maybe didn't want them to be so peaceful. Because if they were, maybe they would form the biggest collective for, OPEC and all the oil producing countries and control too much of the oil prices. Because even though the United States now has plenty of oil on its own, you still want control of the resources, and the United States is big on that. So that could be one potential factor. Another potential factor is they didn't know about it at all, and they just shot themselves in the foot because, man, that could have been a good thing, right? The Saudis declare peace with the Iranians, and we don't have to be there anymore. Now, that could be something that Trump wants. That may not be something that the military-industrial complex or Israel or any of the other players in this big mess want. The Israeli government certainly doesn't want the Iranians to continue to thrive for a lot of reasons. Well, obviously, they're sworn enemies, and there's a lot of hostility in between them. But besides that, the Iranians have invested a great deal in their infrastructure. And a worry for the Israelis is in that part of the world, the Iranians could, with all their resources and all their infrastructure, start to become a big player financially in the region. And they could continue to develop their weapons, even though the Israelis are way ahead on that score. They've got nukes. They're the only power in the area that has nukes. So I think they're relatively safe. The Iranians supposedly are doing it underground. My brother actually had a very interesting comment, which I think was something he may have read. I don't remember. But the comment was the reason Trump may have threatened the cultural sites in Iran. The cultural sites in Iran, you say? Yes, doggy. Is that that the Iranians' secret nuclear testing site, or wherever they have the centrifuges hidden to develop the proper uranium for bombs, are actually built underneath one of these cultural sites in order to shield it from potential bombing, which could very well be true. That would be very smart of the Iranians, right? They might be working under the assumption that Trump is like a lot of American presidents, and they wouldn't like the PR of, say, bombing a ancient mosque or something. And if they put their nuclear or their uranium enrichment facility under one of these huge cultural icons, that the Americans wouldn't dare bomb it because the fallout from the PR would be bad, and that way it would protect it, or at least they'd be reluctant to. Trump, however, is signaling, I don't care about that. I'm going to bomb wherever you got this thing. So that's another factor too. Another factor is this. It may be that the United States doesn't want them to have this peace, but they didn't realize that's why he had shown up. That he'd shown up in Iraq, the general, not for this peace initiative, but to cause more shenanigans. I think it's probably that, because they did take out all the Shia who were backed by Iran in Iraq, along with the general. They took out a bunch of different guys, including a member of the Iranian parliament who actually was responsible for a terrorist attack and then went back to Iran, changed his name, and then ended up as, a politician. Which makes sense, because that would make him very popular if he committed a famous attack and then got away with it and escaped back to Iran, where he'd be relatively safe. Although, not everybody's safe. The Israelis, man, they can get you. The Mossad once assassinated a couple of nuclear scientists in Iran in an operation. I think they were in, unless I'm conflating two different instances, I believe they were in Dubai when it happened, and there was this whole thing where the Mossad agents had stolen passports, and that's how they were able to get at these guys, and they killed them and whoop, disappeared. So the Mossad, they'll get you. Anyhow, there's a lot of players in this game, and it's very complicated. But I still stick to my original prediction in that Trump's going to sit back, wait, see what the Iranians do. And the Iranians, not being suicidal, are not going to do anything direct. They're going to try to do some indirect things, but they have to be very careful, because if they get exposed for doing an indirect thing, like if they, get Hezbollah to do something really major, or one of their surrogates in, some other part of the world, and they somehow get back at America by, sinking a ship, or who knows? It could be anything. If that gets back, then Trump will bomb the hell out of Iran. I think he'll just bomb it. I don't think he'll invade it. I think that it'll just be a war to level the place. And they'll just get rid of all the refineries. The Iranian economy will collapse, and then the hope will be, well, maybe some of the Iranians who don't like the regime will overthrow it, and they'll somehow cobble together some sort of new government that we can then deal with, that'll be more democratic or whatever. I think that's wishful thinking, and mostly probably coming out of the Pentagon. That's the kind of stuff that they think up, because they like to go to war, and then they like to imagine that that'll somehow produce good results. I don't think that would happen. Unfortunately, when you bomb a country, I shouldn't say unfortunately, like, there should be some good version of bombing. It's just, you shouldn't bomb countries. But when you bomb a country, what tends to happen is it tends to unite the people in that country you bomb. So even the people who are against the regime resent you for being there and bombing the country, because then people start to die, and it's like, those damn Americans. But, it is possible for the people of Iran to hate America and hate the regime and, put together a better government. But, it's way too early for people in the United States to be taking sides with the Iranian people. They are definitely, in my view, not in control of much. People keep showing me the video of the general's funeral in Iran. That had to be a state-sponsored event. And when you live in an oppressive government like Iran and there's a state-sponsored event, they want you to show up, to show your good citizenship. And when you don't show up, well, that could be a sign that maybe you're not too with the regime, and maybe you got to be scrutinized a little more. So I wouldn't put too much stock in the number of people who showed up, because that's the equivalent of, like, in my view, like a Soviet parade of missiles. Yeah, a bunch of people showed up and saw the missiles, just like a bunch of people showed up and pretended to be cool with this guy. There were other videos of Iranians in other countries celebrating in the streets at the death of this guy, but of course, those Iranians are out of Iran and probably permanently out of Iran, and they are freer to do that kind of thing. In their own country, I sincerely doubt they would have been free to, march in the streets and say, hooray, this guy's dead, because he was such an important member of the regime. So, lots of stuff going on. Man, when I read that article about the peace initiative between the Saudis, I was just like blown away. If that's true, I mean, that's just crazy. And it could be a great sign coming out of the kingdom that the kingdom's finally ready not to bomb somebody, because I was really getting worried. I mean, the campaign coming out of the kingdom towards Yemen is so bad and so awful that they're willing to make peace with anybody is a good sign. And the Shia, the fact that they want to make peace with a Shia country, if that's true, that's a big step for them, because they're Sunni and they do not like them. There's a big gap there, and if they're actually going to make peace in the region, but maybe they see the writing on the wall, because the Iranians do have missiles. Now, the missiles can't reach the United States, but they definitely can reach Saudi Arabia. And we do have some American bases there, and there are other places in Saudi Arabia that the Iranians may like to bomb on their way out, just to stick it to their enemy. So, the fact that the Saudis want to make peace also pressures the United States. Hey, we don't want this war either. And not that we're going to necessarily listen to the Saudis 100%, but that's definitely a factor, right? We don't want to necessarily piss them off because, again, the whole petrodollar thing, they're taking dollars for our oil, and we want that to continue. Not that they have much of a choice in that, but they could get resistant, and we don't want that on top of a war with Iran. I don't think Trump is headed for war. I think his plan, is a bit of a 4D chess move. I think he now has the pressure from the Iraqis to get out, which is good for us. For those of us who want to see us out of the damn Middle East, if we have to pull out of Iraq, that changes the chessboard, especially regards to Iran, because now we won't be totally surrounding their bases. So maybe this was some sort of roundabout way to giving the Iranians what they would want without pulling out and looking weak. Maybe this is a way to get out of the Middle East and just admit what we've done. I mean, when Bush invaded Iraq and deposed Saddam Hussein, he basically handed the whole country over to Iran, because the majority are Shia, the Iranians are Shia, they're right next door, and they're pretty happy about the Shia running the deal. So, it would be great just to get the hell out of there, let them fight it out, let the Shia take over, who cares? As long as we could make peace with them, maybe buy their oil if we need it, that's fine with me. Let's get out. Let's not waste any more American lives or troops or money. Let's pull up stakes, take these bases out of there, take them out of the whole region. Just get out of there is my advice. So hopefully Trump's heading in that direction. Seems like it's a possibility. Fingers crossed, though. Every day it's another revelation. May you live in interesting times, is the old Chinese curse, and we are definitely there.